rating the MVPs for their sides in the Premier League so far this season. So how did you work this one out, Ryan?
Yeah, like any good data analyst, not that I'm a data analyst, but someone who uses data, I use numbers to shield myself personally from any criticism of people that disagree with this. So I use this thing called a possession model, which essentially like estimates the probability that a goal is being scored based on where the ball's on the field. And then it awards players. So let's say there's a 1% chance of the goal being scored based on where the possession is. And then a player completes a pass to an area where it's suddenly 25%. Then you award that player with 24% goal probability added. So basically, I just picked all of the players that led their team in this expected possession value stat. So obviously, that's going to penalize like strikers that aren't creating the capacity to score. And it's also going to kind of favor your sort of attacking midfielder types that are moving the ball into dangerous areas. So I guess in some ways, it's kind of like the hidden MVPs of each team, or the players that are most important for each team in terms of creating the opportunities to score.
I'm wondering if you're happy with the way it came out, though, and if there were any you looked at and thought, oh, I'm not even sure myself here, but I'm going to go with the numbers, because I do want to pick out the two Manchester teams. You've got Jeremy Doku for Manchester City and Bruno Fernandes for Manchester United.
Yeah, I think for Bruno, that checks out to me. I know he's sort of a controversial player, but he sort of plays this very kind of high wire style where he loses the ball a lot, but also attempts a ton of kind of dangerous diagonal pass into the box, etc. And, it made me wonder like what, in some ways he's the only successful signing the Manchester United's had in like 5 years. And if he wasn't on the team, like, I don't know how they would ever move the ball into the final third, basically. So that for me, Doku surprised me a lot. He, like on a per 90 basis, he like almost laps the Premier League based on this metric. And do I think Doku's the best player on Manchester City? No. But I think his presence here highlights kind of how valuable he is. And, you watch him play, right? And you see the value of a winger like him, where it doesn't even matter if he's able to beat a defender off the dribble, because the defenders have to play so far off of him. You frequently they let him dribble into the box, and then suddenly you're in the penalty area where dangerous stuff can happen. Or the defenders are playing so far off of you that like basically every time Doku gets the ball within 40 yards of the goal, it ends up in the opposition penalty area eventually. And that's just, at least statistically, a really valuable thing.
Okay, so let me give Janusz the others. So obviously you've heard the Manchester teams there, Janusz. We're just picking out the top 7 here. I say the top 7, not the actual top 7 now, but you know how it goes. Actually, might be. Anyway, Arsenal, Saka. Obviously, you heard the Manchester sides. Newcastle, Kieran Trippier. Liverpool, Mo Salah. Chelsea, Raheem Sterling. Spurs, Dejan Kulusevski. Anything that you disagree with here? If you're looking at it non-athlete.
I'm going to, look at it as a player. I mean, two, the Manchester City, because, I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I still give it to Haaland because, aside from scoring goals, he ties in 2 or 3 players every game. His presence alone, it's an issue defensively for all the managers, right? I mean, before they even go on ahead of the game to talk about what Haaland can or cannot do, they have to figure it out how to limit his chances, right? And even if you do, he scores. So, by the way, I don't hate Erling Haaland. I would have given it to him. Now, with Newcastle, Ryan, who'd you pick? Trippier. It's hard to argue against it, but I would. Kay knows my love for Rodri, but I think, if you look at Bruno Guimaraes, he's probably one of those midfielders that we never talk about or not talk about enough, because he's been absolutely exceptional. I think for me, him and I would throw Joelinton together, because it's impossible. What they do in that midfield is everything that's good that happens for them is down to them. And the spark plug, there's Miguel Almiron. So I just named 3, but I have to pick one. So I'm going with Bruno Guimaraes, because I'll tell you what, as much as I love Rodri, if I had to dig deep down, even into stats and everything else, I think that Guimaraes comes very, very close to Rodri and one of my favorite players. The other one was, give me quickly, Arsenal. I didn't. Spurs. Spurs. Look, and I love Dejan Kulusevski. This was hard to, And I don't even know if I'll disagree, especially after this last game, because he was, again, exceptional. And how happy he must be, Kay and Ryan, you probably know him, Max Allegri or here with Ange Postecoglou and the freedom. And, 4 in the back here, so he doesn't have to worry about being a wing back at Juventus that Max yells at, hey, where you going? Stay back. Where you going? Stay back. One of them. So that's why I think we see Dejan playing as well. So it's not a disagreement, but I think human song, because, to fill in the shoes of Harry Kane, I mean, the guy's got 9 goals and 2 assists, right? In a different role, you can say, because he's playing central, not that he hasn't. And of course, we have a sample of that, because remember a couple of years back, I think he finished top scorer with Mo Salah. I think lost out just on assists as well. By the way, in that season, for me, he was the best player in the league, even though he didn't get it. So it's not new, but I'd still give it to him, because I think he's just, you can see how happy he is. He's mentioned that on numerous occasions, that he fell in love with Ange Postecoglou in the first conversation. And, I don't want to say he's pulling Spurs, because Kulusevski's helping, but, just the fact to come in for somebody like Harry Kane and to score as many goals as he's had already, that takes some doing.
I'll tell you what, that is a phone call coming through for you, Janusz. It's from your fellow board members at the Rodri fan club. They would like a word with you. So we're going to let you go and put out a few fires over there. Thanks so much for being
with us. Thanks, guys.